I have, yes. And the other, vast improvement. And the other thing that I've done recently with two colleagues over from America, last semester, I had two colleagues teach the course independently of me. I didn't do anything. I just sort of facilitated from a distance. I had half of the students in one particular group, they accessed this without doing a lab. So they never got to see a section of skin, they never got to see a section of liver, they never got to see a section of parotid, small intestine. The other students did traditional learning. When I gave a test at the end of the course, 85% of the students who only accessed this got over 80% correct. And the ones they got wrong, the ones that they usually get wrong, that is the difference between, well, my students seem to have problems with parotid, submandibular, these sort of very hard ones. So it shows you that students can do histology completely online if that's a requirement. If a practical lab is not a key component of your teaching in histology, you can eliminate it by going through this procedure. So this is just a small example of e-learning and the benefits that it can have. Does anyone have any other questions on this? And at the moment, as I said before, I have colleagues who want to use this template to put in histopathology, anatomy, and various other topics, but it takes time to do that.
Is this now a private website?
No, yeah, this website, it's just been made available internationally, and my students don't buy a textbook anymore. They don't need to, but they pay $25, I think, to access it, whereas a textbook costs $140 or something Australian.
So this is away from Blackboard?
Sorry?
Is it linked to Blackboard as well?
Yeah. The reason why they pay is not for commercial interest, it's because, as I mentioned earlier, when you have a lot of students accessing a server at one time, it's very expensive to run that server. So the cost is to cover that, not for any commercial benefit. But, you know, if more and more people subscribe, then costs can go to developing it further. One of the key things that and I'll show you one briefly in a moment, is, and this is another a piece of information for you, for me this is not the end, and I shouldn't say that, I guess, because I'm trying to encourage you to get into e-learning. I now know that there are technologies where you don't need to do this anymore. You can create animations in 3D structures of the liver, skin, and that's my next life. And we've got the technology to do it. The University of Western Australia got this supercomputer where you just need to do a few slices and it will put it together as a 3D. And I see that's the next step. You know, the old traditional way of slicing through a bit of tissue and understanding its histology is because that's the only technology we had. Now we have revolutionised technology. They can see animations. So, yes?
If there is a standard e-learning universal all over or for all medical students all over the world, why wouldn't put a universal standard like that?
Sorry, I don't quite...
Universal
standard. Universal standard?
Yes,
yeah.
Standard e-learning for all School of Medicine all over the world.
Well, with histology, I didn't do this on my own. I had two colleagues in the US help me. And we wrote the course and this content to suit the standards of histology teaching both in the US and in Australia. And one of the key things about this, if I just go back to that skin slide, and I don't want to take too much time on this topic, but in some courses it's not necessary to teach all this information on histology. For instance, my physiotherapy students don't really need to understand some of these components, nail and hair. It's very easy for me to customise this for those students. I can get in, anyone can get in. You don't have to be computer literate. You don't have to know JavaScript, anything. You just have to know how to open a computer into the program. I can very quickly, in seconds, cut out these topics so the student doesn't see them. I can, at the top, put, or on the welcome page that you don't see here because it's at another level, I can put Notre Dame University or whatever university, course coordinator Geoff Meyer. I can customise it to suit a particular course. Because what I had was a problem with students in that students doing different courses would access this generic course and they'd say to me, Geoff, do we have to know this? Do we have to know that? That was was a hassle, was an obstacle for me. So the step was to go further and customise it for each cohort of students. And we're adding histotechnology and techniques into that as well.